Module number 2, we're going to talk about MX Quick Start. So the agenda for this module will be first starting with the MX journey to get online, how it actually communicates with the cloud, how it will get the configuration, and then how it actually will use the cloud or the tunnel that we will establish to push reports and accept configuration changes. And then we actually have a topology that we're going to go through to enable, I think, around 6 MXs and see, how we're going to go through the process to get these MXs online and put some basic configuration there. At the end of this module, we will talk about the different modes that you can put the MX on, NAT and pass-through, and basically we'll get you some information around the differences between the two modes and when to put it in a NAT mode and when to put it in a pass-through mode. So I guess, let's kind of like go through how the MX will start to talk to the cloud and what exact information will be exchanged and how to actually build a dashboard from scratch. So the first thing is when you actually place an order with Meraki, you get a confirmation from us, which is the PO, the purchase order. So you get the number. This number basically, it's kind of like a confirmation of your purchase. In the back end, we also have, like, within this PO number, we have all the serial numbers that will be sent to you. So like we know all the devices that we're gonna ship to you. Once you get the PO number, the first thing you can do, you can start to create a dashboard account. So you go to dashboard.meraki.com and then basically create a new account, ask you for some details, your email address, password, and so on. Once you get a new dashboard account, you can start to claim the devices that you own. So basically, you tell Meraki that I'm the owner of these serial numbers, and you can do that either by using the PO number, the purchase order number, or by putting in individual serial numbers. And when you do this, it's kind of like telling Meraki that you are the owner of these devices. And then I think, before we're getting the MXs actually on site, if you've done these 2 steps, you can actually start to configure or create your configuration templates without having any hardware on site. So while we're shipping you the gear, you will get the PO number, go to the create a dashboard account, you start to claim the devices, and then you can actually start to build your configuration. And then whenever you get the device, you connect it up, it will get the configuration from the cloud. And this is the zero-touch deployment that we always talk about. We will cover this, so don't worry. I think, it's really important to understand how it works within, Meraki. So once you understand that, then you can actually play around with, you want to build the configuration first or wait till you get the MX on site or whatever you want to do. So after we're finishing the first 2 steps, let's say we got the MX now, so it's time to connect the MX to your WAN or your internet. Doesn't really matter what kind of like service you're actually using. As long as we have an internet route through this IP, it will be good. So bear in mind, the MX actually is pre-configured to accept an IP address from a DHCP server. So we're expecting that your WAN gateway or your internet gateway will release an IP address to the MX. Understand sometimes service providers do not do that and allow you to do static IPs only. And some of them, they actually do DHCP and release IPs to you. So having a DHCP settings, and that's how the MX actually pre-configured, there'll be no issue. We get an IP address. This IP address is expected to be routed to internet. Then the MX will start to reach out to the cloud. So there's no problem. Let's take the other side, which if the service provider only allows static IPs. So in this instance, we need to change the WAN interface configuration on the MX to be configured with a static IP. And to do this, we need to connect a laptop to the management interface of the MX. And then once that happens, you'll be able to access what we call the local status page of the device. And the local status page will allow you to change the configuration of the WAN interface as well as some configuration on the LAN side as well if you want to. So once you connect your laptop or your computer to the management interface of the MX, then you can put the IPs statically, you can put the VLANs, and we're going to go through the details of that, so don't really worry much about it now. But this is how you can actually get the device connected to the network. So once the MX has an IP address, first thing we'll do, we'll try to reach out to the cloud. So it is actually pre-configured to look up for the Meraki servers that we have in the cloud. Once we found the server, the MX will establish secure tunnel so we can exchange some information there. So again, just recap. First, you get a PO number, or you have the serial number of the devices that you purchased. You build a dashboard. When you actually create a dashboard account, you're basically creating an instance in our database. And then you start to tell Meraki that you are the owner of these devices. So whenever we see these devices online, we'll actually direct them to your instance that you created with Meraki. And then you get the device connected up. You actually decide whether you want to do static IPs on the device or DHCP. You do the static way, then you need to connect your laptop to the management interface and then access the local page of the MX, and then get this MX connected up to the internet. Once that happens, the tunnel will get established, and then the MX will start to kind of like identify itself to the dashboard. So the MX will start to send details about itself. It's like, this is my IP address, this is basically my serial number, this is my MAC address, and so on. And then the dashboard will look into this data and start to kind of like see who actually claimed this serial number, so I can actually get the configuration from the dashboard and push it to the device. And that's how the claiming process actually takes a huge place, because this is where you identify the devices that you purchased to the Meraki dashboard. So when we see them online, we send all the reports to your dashboard or your instance, and also get all the configuration and get it pushed to that device. And of course, the first thing the device will do, look into the firmware, see if it actually does have the factory firmware or one of the other firmwares. If it's a factory firmware, it will get updated, and then basically if it's not a factory firmware, it will ask you when you want to do an update. So this is like how the MX actually start to communicate with the cloud, and how it will identify itself to the cloud, and how the cloud will know that you, Mr. Customer, is the owner of this device, and your dashboard will start to get the information from that device, and also will push the updates and the configuration to this device. The other important thing that I guess everyone also need to pay attention to is how you actually understand, or how you have like some visibility across this communication that's happening from the MX and the cloud. And that actually presented by the small light or small LED that we have in the front of the MX. So if you purchase any MX from Meraki, you find there's a small LED at the front. This LED changes its color based on the stages that the MX is on. So as an example, if you see this color orange only, that means the device is connected to the power, but there's no WAN connection is connected there. Once you connect the WAN connection, you will see actually the color change to like a rainbow color. So this rainbow color means, okay, I can see a WAN connection, but I'm still not connected to the cloud yet. So it's kind of like looking for IP, trying to reach out to the internet, do all this kind of like processes. Once you see a flashing white, means I found the cloud. So I already now found my Meraki cloud server and start to establish a tunnel with it. And maybe I'm downloading configuration or downloading firmware. So whenever you see this flashing light, means it's actually communicating with the cloud, doing something there. And then when it actually turns to be solid white, that means the device is online, there is no firmware updates has happening, or no configuration is being pushed. So solid white means everything is connected up properly, everything is stable. So these are the different colors as well that you're going to see from the MX when you connect it up for the first time. All right, let's get to the fun part. So this is the topology for the lab today. So we do have multiple sites. As you can see, we have 6 MXs or even 7, including the virtual MX on AWS. We will build them up from scratch. I will show you how to connect it up. You can see that we have some sites connected only to MPLS, some of them only connected to internet, some of them have dual links. So we will go through the details, like how we can first start with a basic configuration, and then we go through all the details of how to integrate with MPLS, how to use the internet, how to use both links, how to load balance between the links, and so on. Because I'm big football fan or soccer fan, so you see all the names of the sites actually is football teams. Juventus is my team. I'm putting it as a data center down there, and then you have Arsenal, Man United, Milan, and we have the AWS one. I'll just name the AWS because it makes sense. Awesome. So let's kind of like now jump into the dashboard and start to build this topology. So we will take it one by one side by one side, and start to build it up so you can actually have a good idea about how to configure basic configuration on the MXs. So if I go here first to meraki.cisco.com, our website, this is where you'll be able to kind of like create a new dashboard account. So if you go up there to login, here you'll be able to start to create a new account if you like. So if I open a new window here, see how what questions you'll be asked. You need to put your email address, your name, and some passwords to access the dashboard. And then you tell us your region, and then you can create an account. So as you can see, no PO numbers required at this stage, or serial numbers. So anyone now can basically create a dashboard account. It's no problems with that. One important thing, if you actually have an existing dashboard account and you want to use the same email address to create another dashboard account, there's no problems at all. So for example, I'm using my work email to connect to my dashboard. So I put it there. Once I start to fill in, it tells me straight away here, that's already used. So what I can do, I can actually continue, put my password that I already put in there, and then I put the company details, or like, the dashboard name if you like, and a captcha, and then you'll be able to create an account. So this is a way. What I'm gonna do, because I already have other accounts in using my email, so I will just jump into one of these. So MX training. So there's nothing in this dashboard. So let me show you how you can create a dashboard from your existing dashboard. So I'm connected now to my existing dashboard, and then this organizations is basically an organizations that I created myself. I can go and add another organization from here. So the first thing it asks me for is like, do you want actually to copy settings from any other organization? So you can have like, instead of starting from scratch, you can actually say, okay, copy some information I have from another organization. So I will call this organization first, MX Technical Deep Dive. And then I can tell them, okay, copy the configuration that I have in my MX training. Nothing really special there. So once I do this, and I hit just refresh, I should be able to see the new organization I created now here, which is called MX Technical Deep Dive. Alright, so this is a brand new organization, I haven't claimed anything yet. I don't have any devices there. It's just really new. So the first page you're going to look at here is asking you, okay, can you please register the Meraki devices? You need to tell dashboard now which devices you own, so we can look up into the online devices and start to kind of like make the communications happening. Or if you do have a system manager requirements, because system manager doesn't need any hardware, it's a software kind of like device, software product, you can actually build up using system manager straight away from here. So for our demo, we're focusing on the MX. So I'm just gonna go here and ask to register my serial numbers that I have for the 6 MXs. So I'll hit and add devices. Now here it tells me, can you put please the order number, or you put the individual serial numbers. So I do have the list of the serial numbers for my demo here. So I'm putting them all, as you can see, and then I hit add devices. Great. So as you can see, these are the ones that we're gonna use for today's demo. You can see here we have MX400s, 80s, 84s, and MX64, and also one of access points. Great. So we claim the devices. Now we're telling the dashboard, whenever you see these devices online, there are ours, which is part of the MX technical deep dive training. Now, what's next? So the first step that I will need to do now is start to build a configuration, right? I don't care if these devices are online or not now, but whenever I actually have devices claimed, I can start to build configuration now. So going back to my network diagram, we need to build Arsenal first. So Arsenal using one of the MXs. So I go here and create a new network. It here start to ask me, okay, what name do you want to give to this network? So I can go here and say Arsenal. That will be a network. Now asking me, okay, in this network, do you expect to have combined hardware like switches, wireless, other devices from Meraki, or you expect to have a single kind of like hardware? So I would say, or single product, sorry. So I would say it's a single product. In Arsenal, we only have a security appliance there. So we'll pick up this. And then what I need to do now is to go through which appliance I want to add to this network, like which MX I want to add to this network. So here I will actually go and select MX. So that one actually has MX80. So I'll put this one here and then create a network. So what we're doing here now is basically we telling Meraki dashboard that I want to have a configuration zone or configuration domain, and I named this configuration domain to be Arsenal, right? So from an organization level, this is basically you as a customer, you have a one organization, and then you can start to build what we call configuration zones or configuration domains, which is actually represented as networks. So Arsenal can be one of your sites, or can be one of the configuration domains that I want to have. One thing to note about MXs, by the way, that you cannot put more than one MX in one network unless they're in HA. So if the MXs are not in HA, then you need to place every MX in a separate network. And we're going to go through the details in a second. Okay. So we've created Arsenal quickly. I'm not sure you guys noticed it or not, but it tells me straight away here there's a license problem. which is a really good exercise. If I click on it, so we claimed the devices, but we didn't claim the license. So it tells me here, you have one MX80 that you start to use in one of your networks, but you actually don't have a license for it. So there is no license for it. So what we need to do is to basically put the license key there to be able to start working. So by the way our licenses work, you will actually, if you start a new dashboard and you claimed your devices and you don't have a license yet, we will put you in a 30 days grace period straight away. And the license you will get there will be the enterprise license, not the advanced license. And then once the 30 days expire, then these devices will stop working. So if you want to test stuff or do some sort of, labbing, you can actually go and have these devices in your dashboards, and basically you wouldn't require a license from day one. But of course, if you build this for your own network, then it's preferred to claim the license from day one. Anyway, so let's go quickly and create the other networks, because we said we have Man United, we have Milan, we have Juventus. So I'll just quickly here go to have other networks, add it. So that one has MX80. And then I will create another network, which is Milan. And by the way, if you do have a big list of devices, like Milan will have two basically devices. So we'll have an access point and also an MX64. And then we have Juventus there. Okay, new network. In Juventus, we'd have 3 different MXs. So I will talk about it in details when we get to the build of Juventus. But at the moment, I would just only claim one device there, which is our MX84. So what we've done, we've created 4 different networks. Each network is a configuration zone. And then we put the right MX in each network. Now it's time to start to configure it, to start to build a configuration there. So if I go here to Arsenal to see, before actually doing this, I just need to claim the license to make sure we okay. So I'll go here and add a license. I do have my license key here. Just copy and paste. So this is licensing more devices. Here it tells you, okay, the license limit we have, the current device count. So we say, yep, please add licenses. So now we don't get the warning anymore. So this warning you will get when you don't have a license, or actually you kind of about to the license is about to expire. So that's when you get the license kind of notification. Okay, let's go to the MX appliance status page now to see how this one is going. So I can see this MX is connected, which is great. It tells me the firmware is up to date, the configuration is up to date. There's no configuration yet, but whatever, the default configuration we have is being pushed already. I'm just waiting for the ports to be loaded. But while we're waiting for this, we can go and kind of change the name of that device. So let's say I will just give it the same name. I will name it Arsenal MX. So when we look into it, we can actually see something meaningful. We can start to look into the configuration of the WAN. So I can see here it's pre-configured as DHCP. It actually gets the IP address from the WAN interface, which is good. That's how the MX is actually currently online. Alright, so that one is connected. You can see it's getting the IP address from the upstream device that we have on the MPLS, which is 10.10.40 whatever. Now I just need to configure the LAN interface. So we need to configure the LAN to be part of VLAN 55. So let's say we have one VLAN on this box, which is 172.16.55, and I have a client connected to the back of this MX. So what I need to do now is to build a DHCP or a VLAN first. So I go here to addressing and VLAN. So by default, the MX will be in a NAT mode. It will actually use the MAC address to tracking the users, and it will have a single VLAN pre-configured. So this is a single VLAN pre-configured that basically if you want to connect a LAN interfaces straight away to the MX from the get-go, you will get an IP address within this range and start to use the network. So, and for this exercise, we said we actually need to change this. So I need to have a VLAN different. It's called 55. I can name it anything I want. So I can actually say here, this is VLAN 55, like I'll name it V55. And then now I need to define the IP address of this VLAN, which was 172.16.55.0/24. The IP address of the MX, I will unify it. So I'll actually do 254 as a gateway. That's pretty much it. Once I hit save now, it will basically create a new VLAN, have this subnet ready, and as you can see here, all the ports of the MX are configured to be trunk, and the VLAN that we configure will be the native VLAN. Of course, I can go and change that if I want to. So I can say, I don't want this to be trunk, I want to be access, and I want this VLAN to be the access VLAN. So you can create multiple VLANs, you can change the configuration of the ports, really up to you. Okay, so that's the first step. Second step is getting a DHCP working. So by default, whenever you create a new VLAN, the DHCP instance will be created for you automatically. So that's something if you're not happy with, you can go here and say, please do not respond to DHCP requests. That means you have only the VLAN and everyone needs to configure a static IP to be part of this VLAN. The other option, of course, if you do have a DHCP server somewhere else, then you can rely on that DHCP server. So I can go here and say my DHCP server in another site which has an IP address of whatever. Or the other option, of course, is to run the MX to be your DHCP server for this VLAN. And from there, you can do the traditional stuff, which basically specify if you want this IPs to be valid or refreshed every week, every day, every 12 hours, every 1 hour, every 30 minutes, really up to you. And then, of course, you can start to kind of like talk about the boot options if you want to have a specific server to load something before, getting or whenever we release the IP, we do this action straight away after to connect a server and boot, using some software or something. Of course, you can do the options as well. So it's like something like for phones, you need to get these phones connected to like an FTP server to get like a firmware updates before connecting. So you can actually specify the options here. And of course, I can start to reserve certain IPs, so not to be used for any reason, like if you do have a server IPs and stuff, you can use this. And here you can do like an assignment to IPs, assignment of some IPs to MAC addresses if you like. So this is like how you can build straight away your MX. First of all, I have the MX connected to the cloud. So it got the configuration from the upstream device, the router, and then I actually built this, and the MX now managed to get to the internet and managed to talk to my Meraki cloud. And then we start to configure the LAN subnets. So we have VLAN 55, we configure the VLAN 55 with the subnet and get that pushed to the MX, and the MX now is ready to go. So this is how to get a device quickly connected up to the network. I guess we need to build the other ones because some of these devices here, it's actually using PPP over Ethernet, and I want to give you an idea how it actually works. Some of them, they actually use a traditional Ethernet connection. Alright, so that one actually looks good. again, if you just want to look again into how things actually presented here, so on the left side you can see the details of this appliance. You can see the serial number. I can give it an address if I want to say, this device in Sydney, where I'm based. I can say Sydney, Australia, and I just say save. So it actually helps. You can put any notes you like about the device, where it's installed, whatever you like. And then you get a nice visual image of the ports, which ports are connected and which ports are not. And then here I can go and check the uplink configuration and get some useful information about the performance of my WAN. And we're going to talk into this in the details. And then here the DHCP, just to see if any IP is being released to any other devices connected to the LAN. And then you can look into the tools, so we can actually do some troubleshooting feature like doing pinging or trace routes to see how things actually working. And again, we get into this in more detail when we build the topology step by step. All right, let's go quickly here and build the other three sites, that we have. Okay, good. This MX is connected up. Again, we're using two links. This is UVMX1 because we have two there. So it tells me I have two WAN links. They both connected. If I go here to check the uplink configuration, it tells me here that they both getting the IP from a DHCP setting, which is great. So I go back to my topology. It tells me here, yep, you connected to 10.10.20 whatever and 10.0.11 whatever. So that's basically the IPs that we have here. Great. Now I will need to do the same thing and quickly go and configure the LAN interface. So I will gonna here use different VLAN. So I will name this VLAN 33, and the IP addressing here is 172.16.33, and the gateway will be 254 at the end, and this is VLAN number 33. Done. Save. I will leave the DHCP. As I mentioned, DHCP will be configured automatically, so there's nothing that I need to change. I'll keep it as is, configure it that way. Cool. Man United is the next one. So with Man United here, I have two links, one connected to an MPLS, the other one connected through a PPP over Ethernet technology to the internet. We'll see how we can configure that. So I see, the connection to MPLS should be automatically up. So I can see here, I will just name this Man United MX. I can see that when WAN is connected, WAN 2 is pre-configured. I will show you how that actually configured because we need to access the local page to configure it. And then of course addressing and VLAN, let's change the addressing quickly. So we don't want to use single VLAN, we use multiple VLANs. That'll be VLAN 77. Awesome. So we're done with that. Now let's try to jump to see how we can actually configure the local interface. So I'm actually using a TeamViewer to access to one of the computers that I have, and what we're gonna do, this computer actually is connected to my management interface, and I do have all the management ports connected up to one virtual machine that we're gonna actually access to now to present how you can use the management port to be able to change configuration there. So let me access this. Awesome. Great. So if I actually here go to my management, MX management machine. So this machine actually is connected to one VLAN, and all the devices, all the MX is basically connected to this machine. So if I actually from here start to go to the what we call the local page. So the local page is basically something that will be identified by straight away by the device, by the machine, because the way it's you will get an IP address from the MX, and then you have the DNS settings is actually the MX. So when you write any kind of like website, it'll get translated by the MX because the MX is acting as your DHCP server. So if I go here and open a new page, I can go and try to access Google, for example. I will have no access to Google because this is just only connected to the local status page of the MX's management. So anything I will write down, it will get translated to mx.meraki.com, which is the local page. So if I actually go here and check, this is MX400, which is a different one. So the way I structured this, I actually connect all my MX's management interfaces to the same switch using one VLAN, and I'm just shutting down the interfaces that I'm not interested in. So to be able to configure the Man United one, this is my MX4, which is that one. So I need to shut down this interface and unshut this interface. Alright, now this one should be now connected to my MX Man United, so I can see here MX menu. Great. I go to the configure page. It will ask me for username and password. So the default username and password is the serial number of the device, and the password is nothing. So if I actually go and copy this, put it in here in my username, and hit login, straight away it gets me into this configuration. Now I can see internet 1 is configured this way. Internet 2, basically I do have an option to use VLAN tagging or not. So I'm not going to use VLAN tagging. Now here I have two options. Should I actually use PPP over Ethernet or direct? If I put direct, then it will ask me, you want a DHCP? Are we expecting the IP to come from the upstream device? Yes or no? Yes, you leave it in your DHCP. No, put it in a static. And then if it's no, you start to put the configuration there. So the secondary interface is actually using power over Ethernet, PPP over Ethernet. So here we just specified it's PPP over Ethernet. Now it tells me, okay, do we need authentication or not? Of course. I put the username and password, and then here it tells me the IP assignment, whether it's going to be released from the upstream device or we will have to configure it manually using this static configuration. And then once we hit save, we're done. So this is how you can go to the local page of the MXs and you actually start to configure it manually this way. Okay, great. So we got the devices up and running. So I have now Juventus, Man United and Arsenal are up. Now I need to go quickly to do Milan, but bear in mind Milan here is a bit different because this MX we said we want to configure it in pass-through mode. So we will configure this one in pass-through mode. So I go here to the last one. So when we configure the MX in pass-through mode, it actually work as a bridge. So from here, once I configure pass-through, you can see there's a lot of information already got removed. So in the net mode, it tells me, what kind of like VLANs you want to apply. Do you want to actually configure VLAN, yes or no? and then you start to configure them, you start to build the DHCP and so on. When you put it in pass-through mode, it's actually working as a bridge. And we'll go through the details of that in a second. So that one in pass-through mode, so I'll hit save. Hopefully that device is up and running. Yep, so I can go here and just put some name, let's say Milan MX, and done. So you can see now it's connected through one interface, the other interface, the LAN interface, not connected yet. The Uplink configuration, it's actually using the management IP, so it already got this IP address from the internet, which is great. So here you can see this is the internet subnet that I have, and we will cover in details now, like what is the difference between MX you have in pass-through mode and MX you have in a NAT mode. So going back to the slides. So the difference between a NAT mode and pass-through mode MXs is pretty easy to explain. So I will start with pass-through. If you put the MX in pass-through mode, it works as a bridge, a layer 2 bridge. It's not gonna make any layer 3 decisions for you. So IPs to the end users it will get released from the upstream device. The MX will just basically get the traffic from the WAN and bridge it to the LAN. So in this instance, you cannot have more than one interface connected to the MX. So you only have one WAN interface. Second, there's no 3G, 4G backup. So you cannot use the USB port that we have there to connect your 3G and 4G. And for features like side-to-side VPN, yes, you'll be able to establish side-to-side VPN. For features like intrusion detection and prevention, it will only work in intrusion detection mode. It wouldn't prevent any threats. It will just notify you, and then it's up to you to go and prevent these devices. Are you be able to configure firewall rules and block traffic, allow traffic? Yes, you will. Are you be able to see the traffic going through, like the users, how much bandwidth they consume, and so on? Yes, you will. But the only difference between pass-through and NAT, that it will not make a layer 3 decisions. When you put it in a NAT mode, the concept here is pretty simple and straightforward. Basically, it will work as a layer 3 device, or a layer 7 device actually. So you'll be able to assign IPs, create VLANs, do all these kind of things. Also, every MX can handle 2 WAN connections. So you'll be able to connect these 2 WAN connections and load balance if you like, or you use the SD-WAN functionality. We have 3G, 4G as a backup, so when you put them in a NAT mode, you'll be able to use the 3G and 4G as a backup. And then you do have the 2 intrusion detection and intrusion prevention modes that you can actually operate on. It's really up to you which one you will select. In addition to, of course, other features like the firewalling rules and so on. So, to sum up, if you want to have the device to be full function, release IPs to your end users, do all the features that we talked about at the beginning that MX can handle, then you need to put it in NAT mode. If you actually want to have the box to be like devices sniffing packets, understanding what the people are doing, so a lot of customers actually use the pass-through mode first to sniff packets and understand what's going on, and then they start to have a policy created, and then they move it to the NAT mode. And in pass-through, we do actually have another mode that we use it for, which is called VPN concentrator, and we will talk about it in more details, how you can actually use the MX as well in VPN concentrator. So in this module, we covered a lot of stuff. So we started quickly talking about the journey of the MX to be online, and then we get into the details of how the MX make the tunnels, or establish the tunnels with the dashboard and get the configuration. And then we went through the topology diagram, and we start to create basic configuration and enable or get the MXs to be online. And then the third part of this module was to cover the basics of the NAT mode and pass-through mode. And of course, we're gonna get into the details of the feature in the next sessions. So stay tuned for the next module.